has caused destruction in many nations.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white cloths, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it. Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white cloths, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live from the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. Nigeria's economy to witness appreciable growth in 2021 with the commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Details of this on Business News.
Almost everything that comes across the border is actually agro-based. If you remember, tomato, salt, sugar, and all that, that's what comes across mostly. It's mostly foodstuffs.
With Africa becoming the leading hub of free trade area in the world, following the takeoff of the African Continental Free Trade Area, key players posit that Nigeria has the ability to unlock and unleash Africa's vast economic potential in the regional and global market through export of other key agricultural produce.
Value chain in terms of producing, processing, and marketing. These are things that you have to put in place. And that is exactly the thing. And that is how you can now actually say you want to participate well in African Continental Free Trade Area. You can continue with the raw cocoa beans you are sending to Europe, and then you want to send it to African countries. Nobody wants that. They want processed goods.
We have established a lot of contact with shoe manufacturers in Nigeria and leather goods manufacturers generally in Lagos, in Aba, and in Kano here, that their products can be exported to South Africa, to Egypt, to a lot of countries.
Some industrialists and agricultural economists also advocate inclusion of women in the mainstream of regional and global trade, maintaining that formalizing trade across Africa cannot be achieved without the inclusion of women at all levels. And these are the closing figures of trades on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
That was our business news, and let's move on now. Newspaper review is coming up next.
Bayo Atebe is here already for the review of the papers. Bayo, welcome, good morning.
Thank you, Yusuf Nadabo. Good morning. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning,
Good to
Nigeria.
see you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's get started with the Punch newspaper and then see what is therein. At the top of the mast, we find the story that goes as such: poor investments, low revenues, others threaten Nigeria's 2021 growth, according to the World Bank. You'll get the details of that on page 21. Right under that, you find federal government expects 42 million COVID-19 vaccine doses, and this is coming from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. And the writers are that Nigerian leaders, health workers, to be vaccinated first. And the second writer is FG, that is federal government, China in talks on COVID-19 vaccine. That's direct flights. We get that on page 2. Foreigners without COVID-19 certificate will lose visas, says NIS, that is Nigerian Immigration Service, and the details are there on page 9. The main story in the Punch newspaper is TUC threatens showdown as NERC denies 50% hike and blames inflation. Details of that will be getting on page 26, and there are two writers here to under this, and they go as such. It's betrayal, federal government bringing out policies meant to cripple the economy, says Congress. And then the second writer is increase between 2 naira and 4 naira, rather reflecting impact inflation and forex, says the commission. Below on the front page of the Punch newspaper, you find Lagos deploys 1,250 constabulary officers to boost community policing, and you get details of that on page 6. And the soldier brutalized, stole my 40,000 naira during Plateau staff protest. That's a worker they are complaining. You can get more from this, get more of this story on page 11. And the ex-Fin Bank MD, Mosu, jailed 3 years for 10.9 billion naira fraud. Still on page 11. And on page 8, gunmen kill 1, abduct 20 travelers in Nasarawa. At the bottom of the page, there are 3 stories here, and one of which is going to be on page 9. Details on page 9, and that is Falana tackles El-Rufai over demolition of nude party venue. And the second story at the bottom is a man, 22, behaves Bauchi teenager, plucks eyes for ritual. Details on page 4. And Obaseki graduated from UI in 1979, certificate not forged, according to the registrar. Get details of that story on page 9. Clear?
Okay, so let's turn attention to Daily Trust. And Daily Trust is concerned about the trending electricity tariff hike. And it captions its lead story. Concerns over fresh electricity tariff hike comes with a number of riders there. As NERC OK's increase, businesses suffering, manufacturers and artisans will resist it, NLC, and PDP asks Buhari to rescind decision. That's the lead story from the Daily Trust. The other story is trending on the paper, just below the nameplate. 2023, Igbo leaders demand presidential tickets from APC and PDP. It's on page 6. And hundreds flee as Boko Haram attacks Borno village. Point 8, 731 Batch B corps members contract coronavirus. That's coming from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. And just some of the stories that we're also following. Yusuf has also taken some of these stories from his paper. COVID-19 vaccine, strategic leaders, health workers on FG's priority list. Well, Bayo.
Strategic leaders.
Well, let's start then with the COVID-19. As of this morning, 1,354 new cases in 20 states, including the FCT. And the numbers are still going high. Lagos has as high as 712. It is the highest, I think, ever for any single state. FCT, 145. Plateau, 117. Kwara has shot up to the 4th position with 81. Kaduna is pushed back to the 5th position with 54. As so far, the number of cases we have had since March is 92,705. Unfortunately, our death toll has been 1,319. We have 15,000 Nigerians undergoing treatment. Now, talking about vaccines now, the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Primary Health Care Agency has indicated that initiatives are underway to get vaccines for Nigeria. And he says that when the vaccines are available, the first batch is to be delivered by the end of this year. And the priority list for those who will be given the vaccines have been listed. They are to be given to frontline health workers, first responders, national leaders, people vulnerable to coronavirus, and the elderly. Faisal Shaibu says that to eradicate COVID-19, Nigeria needs about 70% of the population to be vaccinated. But so far, we are expected to have about 42 million of the vaccines for COVID-19, and that will be coming as far back as later in the year. But as by the end of this month, we are expecting about 100,000, and this is in the field of the Pfizer and biotech, which will be administered. Meanwhile, the China Foreign Minister Wang Yi was also in Nigeria for bilateral talks, and Nigeria is exploring the possibility of also acquiring vaccines from China. There are 6 approved vaccines that have been administered around the world. There's a Pfizer biotech in the US and Germany, and also Moderna. There is the AstraZeneca Oxford in the United Kingdom. There is also Sputnik in Russia. China has Sinopharm, and India also has Brahma Pharm. Well, the other key story dominating is the reported increase in tariff. There has been increase in electricity tariff since January 1st, and the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission says this increase is to first reflect the increase in inflation, which is now at 14.9%, as well as increase in the foreign exchange rate, which is 379 naira 0.4 to a dollar. Secondly, it is also to comply with the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act, which allows a biennial, twice a review in every year. According to this, there are supposed to be 4 bands, bands A, B, C, D, and 4, and the increases have been ranging from between 2 naira to 4 naira. However, there is an explanation that the tariff for households and businesses with less than 12 hours of power supply remain frozen and is being subsidized, so there will be no increase in those areas. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress has already reacted and describing the tariff as deceitful, especially that there is a joint technical committee set up involving the NLC and the federal government to review the tariffs. And they are saying that why is this review going on when the committee has not concluded its job? Meanwhile, other countries are, while other countries are providing palliatives for their sovereign citizens, Nigeria is increasing tariff in an era where the economy is actually down. They say the hike in the tariff is not only going to affect the general cost of living goods and services, but is also going to compound inflation, which is now about 14.9%.
Well, yesterday, I'm sure I saw that news flash. The NARC, came out to debunk that this increase in electricity price tariff. I think I saw that.
Well, the Nigerian Regulatory Agency has actually given the rationale, the 2 grounds upon which the increase has been agreed upon. And some of the discourse have already reported that they are waiting for the circular from Nigerian Regulatory Agency. And the papers have gone to the extent of even giving a breakdown. In fact, I can tell you that in Band A, the maximum demand is now to increase from 59 naira 15 kobo to 59 naira 15 kobo to 62 naira 33 kobo. In Band B, it's from 53 naira 62 kobo to 56 naira 33 kobo. In Band C, from 44 naira 91 kobo to 46 naira 91 kobo.
You know the explanation I get from some of the stories I've read concerning this is that that the NARC is claiming not to have increased prices, but to have expanded the bands. So, is there a difference? Is there any difference between expansion of the bands and price?
Well, the bands, there are 4 bands, band A, B, C, and D. The last band is those who get less than 12 hours of electricity. That area, there will be no increase. But the previous band, A, B, and C, they are supposed to be marginal band, and that is why the summary is that the ranges in increases range between 2 naira to 4 naira for what it was before.
Well, the NLC generally is kicking against the whole thing, the whole exercise, claiming that it shouldn't have been because there's supposed to be some negotiation before that one is concluded. And if you can recall, was it in November or thereabout when negotiations were going, when the two issues came up, the PMS price and, of course, the tariff on electricity came up for discussion and negotiation between the government and the labor union. When it was solved, and that is the PMS issue, and the other one was being shifted to 2021 January thereabout for further negotiations according to the NLC. And now here we are today with this price or tariff increase, which the NLC is claiming that it has not been consulted, and of course more or less like an arbitrary increase, and they're saying they are going to be, there's going to be a showdown with the government on this.
I think it's a precarious situation. You have the petroleum sector deregulated. Therefore, the prices will increase depending upon the oil price market in the world market. So if the price goes up tomorrow, you cannot resist any increase. Automatically, it will be increased correspondingly. Similarly, with the electricity, you have the regulated electricity. It is now in the private sector. It is handled by these agencies. There's a level of federal government involvement. And the agreement is there. There will be increases twice every year, in January and in June every year, depending upon what the factors within the economy are. So this has been there. But there was a precarious situation whereby you were going to have a strike that could bring the economy to its knees. And that was why government had meeting with NLC and put all the facts before them. The issue of the petrol thing is resolved because it is obvious. But with the electricity, they are saying that, let's see what we can do about it. So the challenge is still there. The problem is still there.
Virtually,
and we continue to hunt us.
TUC knows the inside story, therefore.
NLC, TUC, they all know the inside story, and they are there negotiating. And when you say you have deregulated or privatized electricity, there is a limited extent to which there can be interference from
I think the only ones now left out in the dark are the Nigerians, the populace, the consumers, which of course TUC, NLC, and of course the government need to do more in order to educate Nigerians on this issue so that we can appreciate what the situation is.
The good news here was yesterday, the public works was launched here in Abuja, and there are hopes that everything will be done very rigidly and monitored. The Minister of State for Labor and Employment gave indication that before the projects were done, the various local governments were consulted to determine the project themselves.
Yeah,
and
secondly, really, that is going to be
our topic.
That is going to be our topic this morning.
Oh,
we
so
shall talk about that.
I have become a prophet
for at least an hour or so. Thank you so very much, Mario. It's a pleasure for coming this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for keeping the day with us. We are going to continue on, but before we get going, let's take this break.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
In my house, we may look alike, but we are very different individuals. My adorable twins, they look so alike, but they don't like wearing the same things. And my little man, I had to find out the hard way because I've been trying to teach him my way. He loves to learn his own way because doing things his way is more fulfilling. Everybody believes their way is best. That's why Golden Penny Pasta is our favorite meal because due to its non-stickiness, it allows me to satisfy everybody just the way they want it.
Golden Penny Pasta, made with durum wheat, is tasty, nutritious, a source of protein and fiber, and non-sticky. So you can cook, serve, and eat your pasta just the way you like it. Go on and enjoy your Golden Penny Pasta the way you want it. With Golden Penny Pasta, your way is best.
For over 70 years, we've protected our homes against germs together. and now is no different. So let's disinfect and protect our floors and surfaces every day. Dettol. Protect what's worth fighting for.
The new year begins. We here at NTA cannot help but look back on a challenging year that has been filled with many lessons. The most important of all being a renewed gratitude for the continued support of our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses and manufacturers, and you, the viewers. As we cross the finish line together, this celebration of new beginnings would simply be incomplete without you there, and we look forward to sharing the coming year with you. Here's to an excellent year ahead.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Helen Paul! Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow! Now I'm convinced, Helen Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Do you know that 35% of every girl child and women are raped on a daily basis? Some are killed in the process, some take their lives in shame, others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not ours, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Never cover any rape act because a rapist is a murderer. It could be you or your loved ones next. Women must be treated like the prize gem they are. Say no to rape.
right. Thank you for joining us. If you just tuned in, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, and I can assure you we're going to have an engaging conversation because of the topic that we have today. Now, just yesterday, Minister of State, Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, flagged off the 3-month special public works program in Abuja and as well as in other parts of the country, some selected states, that is. Now, at the flag off, the beneficiaries were nudged to become self-reliant, and that's after the initial 3-month program. But just before we kick off our conversation, let's listen into Emmanuel Anyimiro's report. He witnessed the ceremony yesterday.
A joyful Sadatu, a widow and mother of 5 children from Abuja Municipal Area Council of the FCT, has already figured out how to utilize the starter pack provided to her by government to support people like her under Extended Special Public Works. She is among the 1,000 beneficiaries in the 6 councils of the FCT.
As you can see, look at many farming something here. With farm, I'm able to get many things out of here. Not until I say this, but all this will be using at the farm.
I can buy more. Maybe if I was given biro, at the end of the day, I can buy more of the biros, to be hiring it out, and working for my community.
The program is for the maintenance of public infrastructure. Every local government is to identify any preferred project of their choice.
At the NDE, we are confident that the proper implementation of this program will contribute significantly to the upliftment and provision of succor to unemployed Nigerians.
Apart from the transparent and proper documentation of all participants already captured by designated banks, with supervisors appointed in all electoral wards of the country, the concern raised is the exit strategy of the program. The Extended Special Public Work starts from January the 5th and will last to 4th day of April 2021.
Good morning, Nigeria is reaching you from the NTA, and this morning we have 2 topics on our hand. We'll get started with the first one, which is 774,000 Special Public Works Program. Our guests are already seated, and we have the pleasure to introduce the Minister of State, Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We also have 2 other familiar regular faces on Good Morning Nigeria. And do join me and to welcome Ajuri Ngalale, SSA to the President on Public Affairs. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Always a privilege. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, we also have joined us, but this time from our Ibadan studio, Ni Akinshijo. He's a familiar face and investment analyst. Mr. Akinshijo, thank you for joining us and compliment of the season to you.
It's my pleasure to be here with you. Happy New Year to all Nigerians.
Yeah, of course, indeed, compliments of the season, so I guess in the studio. Yes, okay. Yusuf.
Let me, in the background, it was all about the Minister and 774 Special Public Works. Now, this can be a very good news for Nigerians. This, New Year 2021, having to get this started at the beginning of the year, and of course, it's all about a chunk of Nigerians, 774,000, 1,000 of them across every local government. What does it entail?
It's an employment-intensive technique that the federal government has adopted. It has some historical antecedents also, though. This kind of program was adopted during what they call the Great Depression of those days. Period where a lot of people were thrown out of work, and also during the time of famine, where you have droughts in Africa and some parts of the world in those days. So what governments did in those days was that during this period of droughts, the people who were, supposed to be at the farms and working and who could not, go to the farms, the government cleared all of them from the streets and used them to do some kind of community service, maintenance of public infrastructure, and they were paid stipends for them to survive until the rains came back and they could go back to the farms. So this is the kind of historical antecedent that this kind of program had. So it was adopted over the years by countries like India, Bangladesh, China. These were some of the tools they used to fight poverty. At a point, India was at the bottom of the rung in terms of the poorest countries in the world. But this is one of the major tools that India also used to fight poverty and came out of the bottom of the rung. So Nigeria has also adopted it. The president, first of all, approved a pilot scheme. The pilot scheme was to be done in 8 states and 5 local governments in all those, not even all the local governments in the 8 states. We started off in February, but we could not finish up the pilot scheme until the pandemic came. So when the COVID-19 pandemic came and its ravaging social economic effect on Nigerians, the president, being a very empathetic president, thought that we could expand this scheme. In fact, he directed that they should expand this scheme under the Economic Sustainability Plan as a direct response to the COVID-19 challenge, that they should extend it, that we should extend it to all the 36 states and the FCT and all the local governments in the country. And that's why it is called the Extended Special Public Works Program. And so now, the entire local governments in the country, 774 local governments, are beneficiaries of this scheme. And 1,000 persons per local government are beneficiaries of this scheme. Basic thing is that these 1,000 persons are available in the next 3 months to all the levels of government. So it is not only federal government infrastructure, even though federal government is the one hiring the persons. But the president directed us that we should collaborate with different levels of government. So even state governments that have public infrastructure to maintain, the people are available to them to be used. Local governments that have infrastructure to maintain, they are available for them to use. So we have made wide contact with other levels of government. There are some local governments, for example, that want to maintain their schools. Some want to change the roof in their schools. Some say they want to paint their schools. They said, okay, they will provide the materials. So we have saved them some money in terms of monies they pay, the painters and the workmanship they pay. They said they'll provide the paints, provide the brushes. These 1,000 persons, for this period, they'll use them to paint all their primary schools and give them a facelift. At the local government level, that's not even federal infrastructure. So when I see headlines where they say they are hiring people to go and clear gutters, I say this is the height of mischief. And we have corrected them over and over in the last 3 months, and they keep repeating those headlines that Buhari has hired people to go and clear gutters for 3 months. That is it. Clearing of gutters may just be one of the several, community service that will be rendered in the next 3 months. Each local government has its own unique needs. So we have allowed every local government to determine what they want to use the 1,000 persons for. They have the exclusive right to say, look, this is our problem here. In an urban area like Lagos, very urban area, you're not going to be clearing bushes like some other rural areas will do. They will clear the bushes and all that. They may do traffic control in Lagos.
You said this is an employment intensive scheme.
Yes.
And I just would want to ask, how do you mean? Are you intending to engage them? Is it a permanent thing? Because from what I've heard so far, it's transient. You've used the word transient. So, which means it's not permanent. And I'm also wondering if it is part of government plans to cushion the impact of specifically of COVID-19 on this class of people.
Well, yes, but it is two-pronged. Apart from the fact that you are cushioning the effect of COVID-19, you are rushing immediate succor to the grassroots, because this is a direct, immediate response. COVID-19 came suddenly. People did not expect it. Businesses were affected. People who depend on daily pay, they were the ones who were most affected. Most of us, you have some small savings. Those people don't have savings. They are the ones who go out every day with shovels and hoes. You see them along Maraba Highway. They wait every morning. They don't know where to go. They will just be waiting for people to come and say, oh, there's a site where we need to clear. They are carrying concrete in one place. Follow us. And they go, they work for that day, and they must be paid that day, not the next day, because they depend on that money that day to go back home and feed their children. That's how bad it is for them at that level. So government, this was an immediate response to say, look, government says, let us rush succor to them at the grassroots. But at the same time, instead of us dashing them money, just giving them as gifts, let us also use them to maintain public infrastructure. Now, you ask whether, well, the 3-month period, how it will, how much impact it will have on them and all of that. 60,000 naira is a lot for those people at that level.
Spread over 3 months.
Yes, 20,000 naira every month for 3 months.
Which is not up to minimum wage.
Now, no, it is not a regular employment in the context of the Minimum Wage Act. So that is what the distinction you must make. It's not a regular employment. It's just a temporary engagement. And even the engagement may not be the 8 to 4 kind of employment that you envisage under the Minimum Wage Act. They may work for 2-3 hours every day and then go back to their regular routine for the day.
Okay.
So you cannot calculate it in terms of the Minimum Wage Act. Again, this will put money in their pocket. Employment in this context is not the kind of employment where you expect that people will have letters of employment to come and work for 35 years or 30 years and get retired. For us at the Ministry of Labour, employment also means skilling up the population. In fact, that is even the best way we want to get employment to the grassroots. You want to skill up the population, and you want to also empower small businesses, the micro, small, and businesses. You want to give them money to expand their business. That is employment.
Okay, let's put you on hold. Ajuri, I don't know what the current unemployment statistics we have at the moment, because again, these are the unskilled people who earn daily. Make daily earnings. They may also fall within the class of unemployed. Right. If you agree with me, so. If we're taking out 774,000, how much impact do you think this will have on our unemployment statistics?
It's really a very important question. I think, first of all, we have to put this in context, appreciating that this is one out of several measures that are being undertaken by the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari to counter the negative economic impacts brought by COVID-19, particularly under the Economic Sustainability Plan that is now in implementation. First of all, when we talk about the Special Public Works Program, as the Honorable Minister has clearly articulated, there's quite a number of facets to it. I think it's really very important to also note that the way the program has been structured, it has been structured in a manner that takes into account all of the requirements and needs of the other sectors. So, for example, when we talk about agriculture, what is one of their major problems? Transport and logistics. Farmers are complaining that they cannot get goods to market without having many of their goods spoiled because of inadequate infrastructure. So what does this program do to deal with that? You're now putting our young people, very virile, vibrant young people with strength, giving them the tools they need to be able to reconstruct, in many cases rehabilitate, these rural feeder roads, linking strategic farms to strategic markets. If you look at another sector like environment, for example, where in 2019, I believe it was, in 2019 when His Excellency Mr. President attended a UN climate summit where he pledged to the international community that Nigeria will plant 25 million trees across the nation. Now you're seeing our young people, as part of this program, also being involved in working on orchards and planting trees. So all of the various sectors, the needs of the various sectors are being taken into account within this program. It's not just a random, employment program where we want to just engage people. No, we want to engage people within the larger context of what we need to achieve to develop an inclusive economy that works for all people across all sectors. And I think the other point to mention here is, in as much as that is how the Special Public Works program is structured, it's important to note that there are other programs under the Economic Sustainability Plan that is dealing with the issue of unemployment.
I want us to look at this. It's a very laudable, poverty alleviation measure, right. Given, of course, the success rate in the climes where they have been applied. But I am looking at the deepening of it and its impact vis-a-vis our employment ban.
Well, that's where I want to. That's exactly where I'm going to. You see, when you look at, for example, how when you're upskilling young people, you're giving them skills, you're giving them tools, and of course there's capital they're taking from it as well. It's very similar, not the same of course, but very similar to what we did with the 500,000 on Empower, which the President has recently and very graciously approved the expansion to 1 million, is you're giving these young people an opportunity to start their own micro and small enterprises. And that's really very crucial. I think when we look at the unemployment rate in the country today, one of the conversations I don't think is being had enough in the public domain is the fact that our National Bureau of Statistics and the reports we have on unemployment still do not take into cognizance tens of millions of Nigerians who are operating their own MSMEs in rural communities, in market squares, people who are running stalls in markets and shops across the country. Many of these individuals are operating well above the poverty line, which is of course $1 a day. Imagine 500 naira a day. You extrapolate that over the course of a month, you're looking at about 15,000 naira. Many of our informal economic actors are making much more than 15,000 naira in a month, but they're being quantified and calculated as unemployed Nigerians. That's something that has to be addressed. I think if we can dimension that properly, we would have a much clearer picture as to what the unemployment rate is. But the last point I want to make is, aside from Special Public Works Program and Economic Sustainability Plan, you also have what we just launched last week, the National Social Housing Program, where we're going to build 300,000 homes, creating 1.8 million direct jobs for young Nigerians in the construction subsector, engineers, artisans, carpenters, electricians, quantity surveyors, accountants, etc.
Yes,
Ajuri, you've made some valid points here, and I guess Nia Kinsuju really want to respond to that. And in addition to even what you said, talking about the economic sustainability part of the FG, and of course the not all-inclusiveness of the NBS statistics, talking about those that are going to be concerned. Nia, let's look at these statistics very well. The Honorable Minister said it's all about those who don't have anything doing, specifically per se as running or having some income per day, rather they depend on the day for what they are going to get. And these are the ones that are going to be mopped up the street and then be given something to do at least for the next 3 months. And they will be given some stipends at the end of every month, I guess, the minister? Absolutely. Yeah. And when you look at this, these are people that really need something daily. And these are the ones that are not being captured so much exactly in the NBA statistics most of the time, because they are very much, very common and on the streets. What do you see, how do you see this playing into the Nigerian economy and having to move it forward, since we're now going to have them included in the whole, job system and, of course, skill provision mechanism of the government?
Thank you very much. I think we also need to also background this. First, I appreciate the backgrounding provided by the Honorable Minister there, but we can also extend that backgrounding to also note that this is actually one of the standard recommendations by the World Bank to address issues of unemployment and, most importantly, issues of extreme poverty. At the time when the economy is seen or observed to be in a state of doldrum, there's a need to have what is an equivalent of a jab to the hands, to the hams of that economy. So essentially, a program like this, which normally called a program of public work public work of good nature, it's a temporary measure to provide liquidity into the economy. And the whole idea is to stimulate the economy in a way that it will have a multiplier effect, on economic activities in that environment. Essentially speaking, when you provide a kind of fiscal support to unemployed people, what you are doing in the first instance is to transform them into economic entities, because yes, there are some who go with pans and shovels looking for job every morning, and sometimes, and perhaps even most often, they don't even get employed for those particular hours of the day, and they go home empty-handed. And essentially, these are also household leaders, heads of households, you know, in some cases. So in economic terms, the most important element in an economy is the household. So where the head of the household who provides money, you know, is unemployed and cannot, you know, consistently provide such, it does not only impact negatively on the well-being of that household, but it also translates to a reduction in the momentum of economic activities in the larger economic space. So by empowering, even if it's for a given period, that household, what you are doing is to create a new energy around that household, a new economic energy. And this economic energy transforms that household into an economic entity. So for me, we are going to have something near a 50 billion naira injection into the economy over the next 3 months. Now, what that translates to is that at the basic level, at the local government level, you are increasing transaction values and volumes. And of course, what that means is that you are providing people with this 20,000 naira to be able to set off transactions, buying and selling. The rice seller, the rice vendor on the corner, the pepper vendor on the corner, the retailer, the mineral seller, the soft drink seller, and all that get to have a boost, you know, in what they sell, you know, demands for what they sell. Now, what that translates to is a move out, you know, in the inventory of manufacturers. So the more you have people buying things, you know, at the local level, in the market, as it were, it translates to a move out, a reduction in inventories of manufacturers. Now, many manufacturer concerns will tell you that if there's no money, if there's no liquidity in the economy, it has a negative impact on their inventory. And the earlier inventory move out, the earlier goods move out of the warehouses of manufacturers, of course, the faster, you know, the profits and capital are accumulated. Now, what this translates to eventually is that the more inventories are moved out, the more production capacity are likely to increase, all things being equal, you know. And when production capacity increases, the likelihood that there would also be employment creation, you know, in pari passu with production increase, as it were. So for me, it's a whole universe being created, you know. One, you increase demand for products and services at that local level. By doing that, you are also increasing the capacity of the companies producing these products and services, you know, to produce more. And as they are producing more, it also means that there will also be a need for them to employ more people to engage the machines and other resources of production in a way that eventually you will not just have those 774,000 just being engaged. At the end of the day, there is likely to be more jobs opportunities created from this particular program, as it were.
Akinsujo, thank you. I didn't expect anything lower from you. You have looked at it from, as usual, the financial perspective, looking at what this, you know, would mean for our economy. And I liked your terminology, you know, what we're going to intend to make out of the beneficiaries. You said they are economic entities, which, of course, like Ajuri said, whether they are they become self-reliant and all that. That's very, very interesting. Thank you, Nii. So,
it's important.
I was just
point out, just to add, and more information to what my brother Ajuri said, that the entire economic sustainability plan is not just this 50 billion, 52
Precisely.
billion. There is a total 2.3 trillion package under that plan.
We are aware of that.
Yeah, so it's important Nigerians know.
No, we are aware of
that.
We are aware of
the
that.
president was that, empathetic.
Honorable Minister, you see, when we look at this whole issue, and we have very limited time for this program, I wish it's going to be maybe about 2 hours for us to talk about it. Unfortunately, we do not have much time to do that.
Yeah.
But let's hit it, all right? When you mentioned, mopping up, those on the streets, and of course, Nia Kinsu just said, households really, which is very important, empowering the household, really empowers the family, and by extension, the community, and there we go. It goes and grows and grows. 20,000 naira, right? Monthly for 3 months, okay? And these are people that hardly, when they go out every morning, they get what they would eat for that day, and then eat it up. Next day they go out for the next day. How is it going to be 20,000 naira monthly on the start, or monthly at the end of the month? Or how is it going to be? Because these are people that don't have savings. They don't have anything on the ground. When you say maybe at the end of 30 days, then what's going to happen before the 30 days? How is it going to be?
Well, there's no hard and fast rule about that. The implementing agency that I supervise, we could sit down and talk about that. But then normally, if people work before they get paid. So at times you pay them, they won't work. They will just walk away. So we expect that they do some kind of work before they get paid. But like I told you, it's not a full-time engagement. Yeah. They may have the freedom to still do a bit of their work every day too, because the community service may not take the whole day. That person may take half of the day, and they may have time to do some other things. But just to graphically explain something, to add to what Nii said, for example, a grinding machine. Somebody just told me yesterday that a grinding machine that they used to grind beans and pepper and all that, that women, you see some women would display, in front of their shops, sell for about 40,000, 35, 40,000 naira. And I was shocked. And do you know that many households, especially women who are caregivers, who manage money more than we men, they send their children to school. They feed their children with that machine in front of their homes. With that machine, with that grinding machine in front of their home. That is how much, I've done this graphic explanation for people to understand how 60,000 naira, what it means to people at the rural level, and how much capital it can be to them.
There's no question about the impact that the stipends, we call it stipends, but to them it's not.
It's not stipend.
Yes, we are aware. We also know what the 5,000 naira cash transfers does to the households. Yes. But the concern with initiatives like this is usually hinged on transparency, accountability, and the issue of corruption. I know you've been talking about the selection process and the committees that you have set aside. I listened to you yesterday. You talked about the constitution of the committees, traditional rulers, civil society, market groups and all that, religious leaders and all that. But can we rule out the fact that these people are politically dispassionate and bipartisan and devoid of corrupt tendencies in terms of ensuring that those who are, supposed to get this, benefit, it's spread across and it's deep. Can we do like that?
Let me first of all make an admission that in a program as wide as this, as elaborate as this, we're talking of 774,000 Nigerians, you will not have a perfect system. What you can do as supervising minister, as the one on whose table the buck stops on this issue, is to do your best as much as possible to set parameters that can guide the process in such a way that it will be, almost flawless.
Because I hear some executives are already having a number of forms allocated to them. Some lawmakers are having a number of forms allocated to them. I don't know if you read that. In the course of my research, I've seen that. So you now have a case where these members of this committee have forms allocated to them for them to give to, those who are loyal.
I think it's very important for us to be able to differentiate very quickly that when you talk about how you know, recruitment processes are being undertaken. We're talking about corruption here. That's what you mentioned. And it's really important to note that across all of our programs, whether it's N-Power, whether it's Trader Money, whether it's the Special Public Works program, we were very, very intentional across all these programs to leverage on financial technology to make sure that this money goes directly from source to the accounts of those who are going to be engaged. This isn't.
It's not even the money. That is not the money. See,
I'm just talking about one part of it.
That is cleared. That is cleared.
Yes.
It's what I want to answer. Just wait, hold on. That's what I want to answer. The other one is clear. I mean, President Muhammad Buhari, you can't. One couple cannot get missing. No, it's other bills. It's not the money. It's not the money. It's the bill. Everybody's paid by.
It's for the viewer.
Everybody's paid by BVN. Yes. We have gone through a rigorous prayer. We've opened an account. Absolutely. So one couple cannot get missed under President Muhammad Buhari. Exactly. We're talking about the selection process, which is what I want to respond to. Yes. Like I said, I want to be honest before Nigerians. You can't select 774,000 persons and then you micromanage every selection. As minister, it's not going to happen. As minister, what you're expected to do is to set the parameters. Now, what are the parameters? I've said, look, in those local selection committees, you have the head of CAN, the leader of Christian Association of Nigeria in the States. You have the leader of the Muslim Association in the States. You have the market leader in the States. You have the National Union of Road Transport Workers. You have the traditional rulers there who are there. You have the civil society organizations who are there. Now, if the local people don't have access to make their case for inclusion to the Christian leader, to the Muslim leader, to the head of what they call the Agberos, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, to the market leader, if they don't have access to this, who will they have access to again? So I have done my best, we have done our best to set these parameters, to say, well, these are people, local leaders we know that can inspire confidence, that people can have confidence in at the local level. What more? If you have any suggestion, give me here. These are the people that, people go to church every day and they see their pastors. They go to mosque, they see their imams. These are the people we involved in the selection process. So after these people, who else? So at that stage, you have done your best. You can now pray that God should guide them too, and make sure that they also buy in. I'm being honest. Yeah, so you cannot at that level. You can go and micromanage the person that at the local government. Someone of the four micromanage who they are selecting at the local government level. You have only set the parameters.
Okay, let me ask you.
That is what we have done.
The ones you did yesterday.
But to a large extent, thankfully, to a large extent, there were no complaints. Of course, there are one or two.
The ones we did yesterday, I'm sure you supervise the beneficiaries here in Abuja. Can you beat your chest to say, yes, these are the beneficiaries, deserving beneficiaries? Because the ones
make it clear to you.
They don't appear, they look robust.
No, let me make it clear to you first of all. And that it is wholly not a program that is 100% for itinerant workers. The president said we should collaborate with other ministries that also will like to buy into the program. So what did we do? We set aside a small number of those who are educated, who can read and write, who will supervise them. Don't forget that they need supervisors. Instead of us, that's what I tried to do to also manage the budgets. Instead of us to now go and get outside the 1,000 persons to go and recruit supervisors to supervise the work, I said no as minister. If I cancel that part of the budget and saved about 500 and something million there to go and hire supervisors, I said out of the 1,000 persons, let us get supervisors amongst them. So what we did was to say, okay, people who are unemployed, young graduates who are unemployed, who can read and write, who can supervise them, we set aside about 150 per local government. The National Population Commission also required that they needed some of these 1,000 persons for demographic survey in the last 3 months, for the next 3 months. So for National Population Commission, they won't use itinerant workers, those who cannot read and write. So we set aside a certain number for the National Population Commission too. The NBS, we were just talking about the National Bureau of Statistics. NBS also came to us and said they needed about 50 persons each from every local government to carry out surveys for the NBS out of the 1,000 persons within these 3 months. So we set aside some educated persons for the NBS, specifically for the NBS and the NPC, within the 1,000 persons. It's social work they want. So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wish we have more time to talk about. There's so many.
There are so many issues in there.
And Ajuri, you know, when we got the information that we'll have this discussion, I actually put a personal call to some people from my, you know, because I'm a Nigerian, I come from different states. I told you I was in Rivers. So I put a call to some people, but the awareness, you know, I mean, they were shocked that such recruitment had already been done.
Well, there's no doubt that I think when you have this fixation, I think in the larger public domain, on issues like, you know, the headline will be National Assembly versus Festus Keyamo. That's the headline. And they're not focused in on the nuts and bolts of the program, how it works. No, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. Is when we have an opportunity to make people aware using media platforms and even direct engagement, what often happens is we fixate on some of these other more sensational issues around the program as opposed to the issues that matter to those who will be participating. How do you get involved? How do you register? How does the recruitment process work? I think that's been one of the challenges. But aside that, if you look at the level of interest and participation that we've seen, I mean, I'm on every day, it's 4 or 5 radio stations across the country engaging with people on the Special Public Works program and other programs. People are more aware than we think they are. I think the challenge we have is making sure that they have confidence in the implementation of the program so that whether the program is extended, because you're talking about maybe potentially the issue of whether there's longevity. We don't yet know the final answer to that question, but we do know that it's possible that 1, it could be extended. Number 2, it could be an annual affair. And we also know that it's very possible because the private sector is watching. They know these young people have been upskilled. They know they now have capacity to be able to do things within the private sector. They can be employed. And then the final option, of course, is that if you look at batch A and B of N-Power, out of the 500,000, 100,000 have started their own micro-enterprises. So why can't these young people within the Special Public Works program do the same? So we're quite optimistic, given the industrious nature of Nigerians, given their willingness to work very hard, that our young people are going to make the most of the opportunity and run with it.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ajuri. Let's cross over to Nia Kinsuju finally on this program. Encapsulated in your parting, you know, thoughts for this program, let's hear you talk to us about how, you know, sustainable could this program be? Just briefly, we have very few minutes remaining on this program, this segment of the program.
As a poverty engagement program, I think it's sustainable. It's sustainable to the extent that, 1, we need to first commend the administration, the president and his administration, for being conscientious about, 1, acknowledging the needs of the poor in Nigeria, and secondly, creating avenues to circle out the Nigerian poor. Various governments that we have understudied had more or less given just lip service to addressing the issue of poverty. If we are able to do this every year, for instance, we can be sure that we will not just be expanding the economy, we'll be increasing our GDP. As we increase our GDP, it is automatic. As we increase our GDP and we have more economic activities, more employment opportunities will be created, more jobs will be created, more people will be engaged, you know. So it's principally about focusing on the people, away from targeting what we call job for the boys, you know. They are 2 different things. So I think this is commendable. 774,000 Nigerians out of employment temporarily for the next 3 months. It's commendable, yes. We may see it as a short-term thing, but I am saying that within it is an organic, organic probability of extending and widening the economic scope.
Very much, Nia Kinsuju. Thank you for joining us on this topic and this program this morning. Finally, Minister, your parting thoughts, please, briefly.
Yes, I'd just like to ask, this initiative, usually, if you look at the success template, it's very effective, and but you have said this is like a pilot stage.
So the pilot stage was over. It's been over.
Okay, so
this is the extended. This is extended Special Public Works.
Okay, so would you consider sustaining it, like Nia is saying, maybe elongating it, making it, you know, and
that will be the decision of the president, but it depends on the success
that
we achieve in the next 3 months.
Yes,
it has to depend on the success we achieve in the next 3 months and the effect we see that it has on public infrastructure and also on the economy. I would, of course, be recommending if we have achieved some huge success. Like I said, there's always been a tool to fight poverty, and in the past, we have to make this point as a parting statement. We have to make this point that in the history of Nigeria, no government has thought of engaging the very bottom of the rung in terms of, hierarchy of workers in Nigeria. That is the very bottom of the bottom. No government has thought of sweeping them off the feet, off the street in a massive, way, comprehensive and massive way like this. 1,000 per local government is a lot. At that level, we're not talking of young graduates. Most programs in the past have addressed young graduates, skilled workers and all of that. But unskilled laborers, no government has addressed their problems as much as this problem as government with this program. And all thanks to President Muhammad Buhari. And before we finish, I must thank the President openly for giving us all the support to make sure that this program begins. And all the hiccups and problems we faced. But the President has been extremely wonderful. He gave us all the support till this minute for us to begin. At the end of the 3 months, we'll have you here again. Absolutely.
I don't even think it should be at the end of the 3 months. It should be much better, much earlier.
As we go on.
As you go on, so that we keep appraising the progress.
Yes. We want to get the minister's commitment. All right.
Many thanks, Festus Kiamu, for joining us this morning. And of course, Ajuri Ngalade, it's our pleasure being here this morning on this topic. You two will need to have more of you on this issue because, as I said earlier on, we should be having much bigger time, really, to discuss this issue because Nigerians are interested in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. We thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the first part of this program. Now, we take a break, and then we'll be back in a moment after the break for the continuation of the conversation on the entertainment industry. Please stay with us.
Smartphone Network.
My name is Nando Jamda Muhammad.
Stevita
Hussein Musa.
Rodina Joel Finji. Said Musa John.
I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
And I said that plantain. Na kai kimamin shekara uku.
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
Ina
wannan sana'ar lemu ne domin Najeriya ta ci gaba. Ina sa domin Najeriya ta kyau. And you can see how we're doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Ina zaune ne a Plateau na business. Kuma ina yin wannan domin ci gaban ƙasar Najeriya.
For a better Nigeria. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
For over 70 years, we've practiced healthy hygiene habits together. The world needs us to keep our fight going against germs. So let's wash our hands for 20 seconds regularly. Dettol. Protect what's worth fighting for.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the game changer, His Excellency Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Broadcasting in a digital economy, Maxwell Logo gives an insight. This edition also features Nancy Naji of AIT, a name synonymous with business. Meet
meet the NCDC boss, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also x-rays the relevance of social media in the modern society. Meet some TV professionals who have impacted their spaces and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Thank you for remaining with us on the program. It's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now let's move on to our second conversation for today, and that's on Nigeria's entertainment industry. The Nigeria's movie industry has become very huge since it sprang up in the 1990s, becoming the second largest film producer in the world. That's of course talking about Nollywood. Now in terms of numbers of movies, but like many other sectors, its growth was derailed by the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. So let's listen into Yemi Ajayi's background before we commence our conversation.
Cinemas were among huge businesses affected by the lockdown due to rising cases of coronavirus in different parts of the country in 2020. Movies and music producers were all affected by the restrictions on large gatherings. The comedians could not organize shows, neither could the musicians. In February, the Headies Award was won, which had gatherings of stars to honor outstanding performances. It was held in an atmosphere devoid of COVID-19 protocols, and this led to many of the attendees testing positive for the virus shortly after. On the good side, this, however, made actors in the entertainment scene to think outside the box, presenting an opportunity to up their games with the social media as the new entertainment platform. Average Nigerians turn to social media apps for entertainment, with some of the renowned stars now releasing some skits, singles, and collaborations in conformity to the social distance policy of the federal government. The innovative ingenuity of the entertainment sector was challenged. Digital streaming services and social media became the platforms for the traditional media players as well. And with a smartphone and internet connectivity, many became content producers, producing video and streaming online for their fans. Despite the prevalence of COVID-19 in the country, especially after the lockdown, standard movies and producers were still able to release some quality production with millions of naira to their credits. Now that we have officially welcomed 2021, how can the sector recover from the loss of the past year? And since COVID-19 is still much around the corner, what measures have been put in place to ensure regular activities are not derailed? These are some of the questions guests from the entertainment industry will be responding to very shortly.
Oh, many thanks, Oyemi, there for that background. And now, after the year the world just endured, stakeholders in the entertainment industry poised for a healthy and more transformative surge this 2021. What are the prospects and plans to achieve them? Our guests are already seated, and we now welcome Happy Julian Uchendu, a film producer and director. It is a pleasure. You're with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Compliments of the season.
Same to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right, we also have here with us Professor Alex Sigbo. And Professor Sigbo is the President, Society of Nigeria Theatre Artists, SONTA. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And via Zoom from Lagos, if we have, that's it, we have the duo of Ogunshino Ayodeji Samuel. Can I see them? And Ojo Oladipo Daniel. And of course, both of them make up the Still Ringing comedy group. Did I get that? Still Ringing?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Are you still ringing?
Yeah, you got it correctly. Still ringing.
What are you ringing? Can you ring for us? Let's start with you. So how was 2020 with you in terms of consumer behavior and interest in your shows?
And of course, very much as an addition to the 2021 really ring.
Okay. Speaking of the effects of COVID-19 on the comedy scene, I would say it has made us to diversify. When comedy began, let's just go back a bit to when it began. It began from stage. It was basically stage platform. So if you say you were a comedian in about 3, 4, 5 years ago, everybody knew you to be the man on stage, and then you have an audience in front of you, and then you crack them up, and make them laugh. But when you say you're a comedian in today's world, in today's corona world, you are probably not a stage comedian. In fact, 60% of people would think you are a YouTuber, a content Instagram provider. So the paradigm has shifted completely. Coronavirus has made many of us content producers now, because we know nobody wants to gather and wear masks and begin to give themselves social distancing. They want to laugh, they want to hug, they want to gist, they want to have fun, and that's what comedy does. It brings people together. But now that we can't be in your faces and make you laugh, then we have to be on your screen. So it has made most of us to discover that we can act more than we can stand on stage. So yes, the pandemic, the lockdown has really locked up our, attitude on stage, and now it has made us, most of us are bringing out our cameras right now. Our cameras are doing the magic, and we are reaching out to all our fans and reminding them that we are still funny. As soon as the COVID, whatever is gone, we'll be in your faces one-on-one direct. And I think basically it has just made us to look at other ways. And besides comedy, a lot of our colleagues are now businessmen, entrepreneurs. I know some people that open bakeries, eateries, different things. So I think it has made us to see life, away from our industry per se. We can venture into other things and then become, whole-rounded entrepreneurs. So I see it as a blessing in disguise. Some people will complain and say, man, it has eaten all of our savings, it has done this and that. Sometimes we have to prepare for the worst, but we thank the Lord. We've been fine so far, so good.
Yeah, we are still waxing stronger.
Well, thank you so very much. That was a good opening for us. You're still ringing, I can say. Let's hear from Professor Asugo. Respond to that question. How has 2020 been?
Well, 2020 has had a very negative impact on most sectors of life. For the entertainment and creative industry, ours was more because theater is a social art, and it thrives more when people are together, sweating together, feeling the energy together. Yes, very interactive. But somehow, 2020 tried to put a stop to all that. But like you had my two colleagues there talking, the motto of the theater is the show must go on. So one way or the other, the human spirit will always create something out of nothing and find a way to survive. So that is what theater is doing. It's trying to reinvent itself in many forms, through cybernetics, through appropriating the social media to propagate. So now you can stay in your room, act just before your handset, and then you put it on YouTube, and you are still reaching your audience. But of course, I must say that for some of us, live theater still remains the thing. So even at that, there are people who are innovating. We are now having drive-in theaters where we have an elevated stage. The actors will be on stage acting. You drive in, you stay on your car bonnet, you are still observing social distance. and they are watching what is going on stage. I think Agozi Agu tried that some months ago in Abuja here with Olarotimi's Gripam. So essentially, the impact has been huge, but we will survive. We will continue to innovate.
Okay, Julian, PricewaterhouseCoopers predicted even way before COVID-19 that Nigeria's entertainment industry will probably be the best prospects, in the world. And with the movie industry, the film industry churning out, according to that research, more than 2,500, films and all that. Are we still in business? Is that projection still, does it still subsist with coronavirus?
I would say to some extent, but it has dropped. Like last year, it wasn't easy, but then we managed to survive it.
Okay. You have your phone. Could you just switch it off?
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So while she's doing that, let's come back to you to take that question.
Okay. Like you said, the projection was that we were doing 2,500 films annually, but definitely last year, if you remember, there were some between March and May, when the world was still trying to understand what Corona was all about. If you recall, the first day that they announced lockdown, it was as if there was war in Nigeria because no movement anywhere. So even producers couldn't go to locations to shoot their films. So to that extent, the number dropped significantly. We are still trying to map that now. We are still organizing studies around that area to know actually how many films were able to come out last year. But you know, sometimes a film may take you 6 months to finish. So to that extent, some films that were done in 2019 were supposed to have come out last year. But somehow, because of the lockdown, dates of release are being shifted and all that. But producers are returning to locations now that we are beginning to demystify Corona in quotes.
Okay. It's still ravaged,
So
okay.
are you? Yeah.
Yes, true. Last year was a bad one, although I was in location when the whole thing happened. Someone like me, I do production like 6 to 7 movies in a year, but last year was just 2. Yeah. So I came back, that was December. Before December, I actually did 2 before the year runs out. So it was actually a bad one for all of us. So the only thing there was some of the movie I did 2019. Then I was lucky, I traveled, that was March, to submit to DSTV and Rock TV before coming back, then go back to location, and then the whole thing happens. So I managed to survive a little. But last year, I will tell you that it was a bad one for the movie industry.
Would you say the same thing for the other? In cinema, in film production, I mean, you have other business, aspects. You have the scripting, you have the directing, and all that. For you are the film producer, so it was not too good for you. But the other value chain, would you say the same? It was the same for them?
Yeah, everybody. If me, the producer, cannot produce, you're the scriptwriter, how would you do it? I have to get the script from you. Both the actors, both the crew members, everybody were sitting, because the producer is the key of all things. So I have to call all of you. The phone is coming from me. So if I don't have that phone or to go to production because of the lockdown, how do you do it? Everywhere is locked. So that's the basic thing.
But 2020 was really tough, I suppose.
It was.
And it required the tough to really get through it, which of course you are one of them. You went through it and you came out, and then we're in 2021 now. We're looking ahead. How's the outlook? I mean, what are the lessons out of that could just now change your perspective and approach to these issues?
You know, during the lockdown, there's this WhatsApp group I belong to, entrepreneur. So I was just seeing everybody moving crates of eggs, bread, rice, beans. I was just sitting like this. I was like, hey, who sent me? Am I in the wrong profession? No, I'm not. It's passion. So I was just looking like this. I was just saying, oh, no. I think I have to you know, start doing plan B, because this whole pandemic opened my eyes. Not just me, but a whole lot of person, if I may say. That agriculture is the basic thing. That should be a secondary. If this should be my first priority, that also should be my second. Because I was just sitting there, people were just, oh yes, I need 500 this, I need truck of this. I said, I'm just sitting there looking. So it's kind of a mind, eyes opener to like see, you know, you don't just have to sit one place. You just, even as much as this is what you want to do, but then and then have something else doing, because anything can happen. Not just me, I believe some other Nigerians in all over the world, like, okay, this thing happened. At a point in time, I have to start Googling to like see how I can make sanitizer, and then start pushing it, because we need to pay bills, we need to eat, kids need to